All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Compound Interesting. In today's video, we're going to have a look at the biotech industry. So I've been researching this today because I think it's one of the potential biggest reward industry in the stock market right now. So that's why I wanted to research it and share with you my thoughts on the industry right now and whether it is the best industry to be investing right now, because it's quite a hot industry right now because of the COVID-19 situation. And there's a few other growth factors, just such as the fact is a little statistic, 10,000 people in the US are turning 65 every day. So there's a lot of older people who will need the inventions of the biotech industry in the future, potentially and hopefully. And biotech is definitely a high risk to high reward industry in the fact that you can make a lot of money, but you can also lose a lot of money because a lot of these companies aren't really generating any revenue or very small amounts of revenue in comparison to their market cap, because people see that in the future there's huge, enormous revenue potential. But yeah, that's how I like it. High risk, high reward. So just before we get going, I just ask that you quickly smash the thumbs up button. It really means the world to me because it really helps the small channel get off the ground. Subscribe if you haven't already, and blah blah blah, hit the notifications. With all that said, let's get straight cracking into the video. So there's some other potential huge growth industries such as artificial intelligence, quantum computing, which is probably a bit early to invest in right now. Quantum computing, there's not really major breakthroughs on the cusp just yet, in my opinion. So there's AI, which is probably a good investment right now. Quantum computing, a bit early. 3D printing, I also think is probably ripe for investment, great opportunity right now. And the MJ or cannabis space as well. So let me know which of those industries you'd like me to talk about, or any particular stocks in those industries you want me to research. I'm probably going to look into 3D printing next. That's what I think has the biggest potential apart from the biotech industry. So before we get going, maybe I should really explain what biotech is and what it isn't, because a lot of companies claim to be biotech, but companies that like sell drugs or sell pharmaceuticals, they're not really biotech. Biotech is like engineering a living organism to find out about your genes or to edit your genes or to any sort of genome sequencing. It's basically dealing with genes, as far as I'm aware, is what biotech is. So I'll just give you some examples of how biotech can help the human race and where it can earn revenue. So as I said, biotech is mostly dealing in the genomic space, so looking at your genes and trying to figure out what kind of diseases you might be susceptible to, what kind of medicines would heal you, or what kind of medicines you might be allergic to, which you shouldn't take. It could also help with the study and research into cancers, and eventually editing your genes to actually cure diseases. But also the genomic revolution can help with industries such as agriculture, like editing the genes of our food to make it weather resistant, etc., etc. And also research into different materials, and also in early stage detections of cancer, like stage 1 detection. Genomic research is better suited potentially in the future than traditional methods at the moment. So obviously biotech has enormous potential because it can hopefully in the future will cure hundreds and hundreds of diseases, and especially with the fact that a lot of people we have an aging population, so more and more people are becoming elderly and will develop these kind of diseases like cancer, etc., etc., and will need these kind of cures and treatments. And genomic, the biotech industry can extend their life and subsequently earn revenue from these people who will need these treatments in the future or will want these treatments in the future. So I've already kind of talked about CRISPR before, so I'll leave a video up there, but the revenue opportunity for CRISPR is enormous. They can, at the moment, they're on the cusp of being able to cure, well, maybe not on the cusp, but they're close in the next decade or so of being able to cure monogenetic diseases, which make up 2% of all diseases worldwide, which is a $75 billion revenue opportunity annually and a $2 trillion once-off opportunity for people who are living with these diseases right now. So monogenetic diseases are basically diseases where one gene is affected by whatever problem that you have. Whereas polygenetic diseases is when multiple genes are affected by the disease. So they're a little bit more complicated and difficult to solve. So CRISPR will not be able to do that right now for sure. But monogenetic, they're starting to get positive trial results from those studies. But the reason I got interested in the biotech industry was after researching CRISPR, the company CRSP. So that's one of the biggest companies using CRISPR-Cas9 technology to edit genomes. I'm not going to go too in depth on how this works. I've done a video on this before, and basically I said this was one of the best risk reward opportunities I've ever seen in the stock market. And after researching a bit further, I'm starting to think maybe it's not as hyped as I originally thought. So basically with CRISPR, the revenue opportunity for curing monogenic diseases according to ARK Invest is $2 trillion. And monogenic diseases only make up 2% of all diseases worldwide. But after researching further, I kind of found out that CRISPR isn't really targeting polygenetic diseases like I originally thought. So $2 trillion is their kind of maximum total addressable market that they're chasing after. So that really reduces the potential reward for CRISPR. So that's why I'm not as bullish in CRISPR as I originally was. So I'm looking into the rest of other companies and industries within biotech to invest in. Although still a $2 trillion total addressable market for CRISPR, which is like a $5 billion market cap, is still enormous. So I'm definitely not selling any of my shares at the moment, but not as enormous growth potential as I originally forecasted. But after listening to an interview with the CEO of CRISPR, she kind of said polygenetic diseases are too complicated to solve with CRISPR-Cas9 systems at the moment, especially in the short term. So it would really have to be a very, very long-term play, and it's not really part of their vision at the moment, So if it's not really part of their vision, it's not really something I want to invest in. So if you don't really know what I'm talking about, maybe watch that video about CRISPR that I already talked about all this and the huge, enormous potential with CRISPR. But I think it's still there, but maybe not to the original likelihood that I originally thought. So is the biotech industry and biotech companies the best investment right now? Well, I thought so when I first started looking into it, but after further research, I think maybe it's a little bit overhyped in my opinion, just with the pop from COVID-19, which has kind of made any sort of biotech space that might have any chance of developing a cure for COVID-19, or just making more people aware of the need for biotech, has kind of increased the stock prices a little bit too drastically. Or any company that deals with vaccines or the biotech space has kind of gotten a little boost that is kind of probably just a bit of a short-term boost, unless they can actually develop something that could be useful for the situation. So a lot of companies have kind of, in my opinion, got a bit of an undeserved stock price boost from the situation that we're in. But yeah, there's definitely extreme opportunity in this industry, and some stocks that will definitely do absolutely unbelievably. But the problem is finding those stocks, because unless you're really in the know-how with this industry, unlike me, like I don't really understand the industry that well. I never studied biology or anything like that. So I don't really understand which companies might do the best or which are most likely to do the best. So I've invested quite a lot of money into CRISPR. However, the company CRISPR isn't the only company that's using CRISPR technology. There's also Intellia and Editas, and I don't know really which one has the best chances to succeed. For me, I was thinking about investing in all three because I'm really bullish on CRISPR, the technology as a whole. But on further research, I think I'm actually not going to do that. I think I'm going to move into a fund. So there's three main biotech funds that if I were to invest into it, these are the three main biotech funds that I would be interested in investing. But because I don't really know which stock is going to do the best from the genomic revolution of the next decade or two, I'm actually going to be more interested in investing into a fund. So there's three main funds in the biotech space that I'm aware of. So the first one is IBB, and this fund is 80%, it's the biggest biotech fund, so it's 80% invested in the biotech space, 10% invested in the pharmaceutical space, and 10% in like life sciences. So it's in all the big names like Gilead Sciences and all the big names in biotech and kind of pharmaceuticals, and it's market weighted, meaning that the biggest companies in that fund have the biggest asset allocation in the fund, if you know what I mean. Whereas the next one, XBI, yeah, it's a similar concept, but it's equal weighted. So if there's 10 companies in that fund, each of them has 10% of the money invested into them. But I think some of you might have guessed my favorite, the one I'm going to invest in, is ARK Invest, ARKG fund, their genomic fund, because I love ARK Invest research into the genomic space. I'll leave some research links in the description, but definitely check them out. But I don't think I'll be the best at picking individual companies in this space, so I'm going to let ARK Invest do that. I might be better at technology companies or consumer companies or whatever, but probably not in this space. It's a little bit out of my comfort zone. I don't really understand everything in this space, so for me, I think a fund is better. So you've got to make that decision for yourself, whether you'd like to invest in individual companies in this space, or you want to, or even if you want to invest in this space, or if you want to invest into a fund. But all those funds have have done much better than the S&P 500, so they're all performing better, and I think are likely to perform much better than the S&P 500 over time. So if you're going to be putting money into the S&P 500, I think it might be a better opportunity to be putting money into the biotech space using one of these funds, and you don't even have to think about it because the stocks are getting chosen for you. So that's what I'll be doing with my money anyway. I'm not a genius when it comes to this industry, but I'm sure we have some people watching that really understand the space a lot better than me. So please let us know in the comment section or in my Discord chat what stocks you like in this space, in the biotech space, because I know a lot of people are interested and know a lot about this industry, unlike myself. So for me, I'm just going to be sticking to the fund ARKG. I'm just going to be putting a little bit of money into there because I know this space is going to really provide a lot of value over the next decade or two and probably make me a very nice return, a nice healthy return. Some of these stocks, like, they're not making any revenue, and then randomly they'll find some sort of cure, or they'll get a drug approved, but like, it's so hard to get a drug approved in this industry. Only like 10% of drugs that go through the FDA eventually get approved and onto the market. So it's so hard to get a drug approved, and there's like, once you get a drug approved or one of your tests shows positive results, then your stock will just pop overnight. So it's one of those kind of industries where there's a huge risk to reward potential, because there's basically no revenues, and then out of nowhere one of these companies can do really well in a very short time period. But if you enjoyed this video, please smash the thumbs up button. I really hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.